folks, Sage with PFM Fabrication here, coming to you with Beaufort the Big Truck project. Today we started plasma cutting the rails so we can lay the bed joists in here. Once the joists are on, that'll be the framework we build the entire habitat off of from there. This morning I started by fabricating this little jig. It helps with plasma cutting the precise shape. It's a little bit small on the inner diameter because we're going to grind it to fit. Basically all this does is it goes in, it tightens down, and it basically gives me a guide to make these notches.
And here are the plasma cut notches. We need to come back and grind them to fit. So basically we made them a little bit tight, and then we're gonna just clean those up, and then that way we have a good fit when we put the joists in. Here we have the floor joists. These are the initial welds. Just tacking it in, making sure everything lines up. Got to come back and completely finish weld those all the way around. But first I want to get the sides on and make sure that everything is nice and flat before we fully send it. Now that we got Beaufort back in the shop, putting on the sides of the bed. Going to make sure that everything lines up is nice and flat, and then once we get done getting those tacked in, I'm going to start putting the tail section in and then running the bed extension. Beaufort's bed was originally 14 feet long. We're going to extend it to a full 17. Here I'm using the Ellis bandsaw to cut the 2x3x8 wall mild steel. Cutting this at an angle because I'm going to use this to build a transmission tunnel underneath the habitat. I've used a lot of different kinds of metal cutting saws in my time. I will say that the bandsaw is one of my favorites. It kind of allows me to multitask, cutting steel while I'm doing something else, like welding or prepping steel. Here I'm starting to tack in all the material around the transmission tunnel. Got the tunnel pieces cut, fabbed up, and weld those in. From there we're going to go ahead and start tacking up the bedside rails to the bed. Make sure that everything is nice and flat and everything lines up well. Once we get everything aligned, I move to the back of the truck. We're going to put the tail section on. So this extension brings the original bed from 14 feet to 17 feet. So we get some extra square footage and storage in the backside of Beaufort. When working alone, it's really nice to have an extra set of clamps and some wood blocks, because you can always clamp up all the material you need and set it kind of as a second set of hands. With everything well supported and squared up, I go ahead and weld the final floor joist into the habitat. At this point, this is the 17-foot mark for the bed now. With the outer frame extension all welded in, I'm going to come back, lay out all my centers, make sure everything is square, make sure all the new floor joists are going to line up, and I guess install those and get them all tacked in. With all the floor joists and the framing all tacked together, come back with some acetone and rags. I like to go through and make sure that the metal is completely clean. Make sure you get all the oil, any other like debris from welding off before we go through and fully weld everything. We're going to be welding the frame rails to the floor joists fully, so we're going to complete those, and then I'm going to come through and weld the outsides of all the floor joists to the sides. Some of these welding positions are hard to get to, and one thing I'd like to point out and remind everybody is it's really important to make sure you're wearing some good PPE when doing overhead welds or welding in general. No point in getting hurt when all you have to do is put on some safety equipment. Here I'm welding in Beaufort's frame rails fully to the floor joist. Once I complete that, I move to the outside, welding the floor joist to the outside frame. Now with the Habitat's base frame welded completely to Beaufort's bed rails, we're gonna have to figure out how to get this thing off the truck and back into the shop and start doing our wall framing.